The net savings target is to be 2%. Cosmetology students will be attending New York City Hair Show. 75 students are planned to attend, and those expenses are paid by the students. And then the board, there was a board meeting, special JOC meeting called for tomorrow evening, the 29th at 7:30, which discussion is on a request from Reynolds for allowance spending. The next regular scheduled meeting will be on February 17th at 7:30. But there's also a motion tonight to approve the following appointment to the Upper Bucks County Technical School Committee, which would be Mrs. Ada Miller for a term of 3 years.
Do I have a second to that motion?
Second.
Moved by Mrs. Schmidt and seconded by Mr. Castor to approve Mrs. Miller for a term of 3 years. I would note that as part of the school code, the directors who are appointed to the Vocational Technical School Joint Operating Committee serve for 3 years at a time and are renewed sequentially. This is Mrs. Miller's term to be renewed. So do we have any other comments or questions on the motion? Not? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 8-0. Thank you again, Mrs. Miller, for serving.
I love it.
We will now move to the Technology Committee. Mr. Thompson.
Did not have a meeting during this period. The next Technology Committee meeting will be scheduled as needed.
Thank you. And the Act 48, Mrs. Schmidt.
The Act 48 committee actually did not meet in January. It was scheduled, but then that was canceled. The next Act 48 committee meeting is scheduled for March 12th of this year at 4 p.m.
Thank you. We'll move to ad hoc fundraising. Mrs. Yardley, Mrs. Schmidt.
Yeah, the committee met just prior to this one at 7 o'clock tonight, and just a quick update. Jeff Hollenbach gave an update on the Build It for Bud campaign. The Hollenbach family's working to raise funds, $100,000 for the weight room, and their goal is to have $10,000 donated over 10 years. And he said they're probably about $6,000 right now for the first year. And he said they had one person who's committing $20,000 and another individual who's committing $10,000 to that. So that's going that's going well. Talked about advertisements. So Mr. Ferry's working on contacting people about advertising. Sponsorships don't have any change from the last ones that we've shared, and we talked about pavers. We've sold some of those, but we're continuing to have outreach to people in the community, and we talked for a while about the Flagpole Memorial. And John Snyder from the class of '64 was here to talk about that, and Mrs. Schmidt talked about the possibility of having the tech school do the installation of the papers when we get to that point. So that's just a quick update about what's happening in the fundraising committee.
Thank you.
Dr. Mariano, can I
Yes.
change what I said? We did have a meeting at the Technology Committee. We had a presentation by Chris Brock of his efforts in using technology for instructional in the district, and he's doing a great job. That and Hillary Zablicki are two outstanding teachers that are leading the instructional use of technology. We also had a presentation on the possible consideration of starting a virtual charter school for Pennridge. During the Hershey conference that I went to this year, I met a superintendent from Elanco, Superintendent Robert Hollister, whom I have been in touch with. And in his presentation in Hershey, he said that he started his one-to-one program, which now includes the whole school. First through 12th grade have their own computers. They used an IBM, it's about $450. I can't remember I have it in my notes, which is about $200 cheaper than ours. And they paid for this whole one-to-one through bringing kids back from that they had lost to charter schools. He announced that he described his district as a small district, a poor district, and And he said he did it because he felt, they did it back in 2009 because he said, we have to do it. We were under such financial distress that we are going to do this. If we're going to fail, are we ready? Are the teachers ready? No. Is the administration ready? No. Are the kids ready? Well, they'll probably do better than the rest of us. And they started it, and he said, if we're going to fail, we'll fail forward. And I asked him for a summary, pros and cons of his experience, and I've also asked him to include his vision for the district, which I compared to our vision, and they're in alignment, but I think it we have to change some things if we decide to go for the virtual academy here. But I think we spend about $4.5 million a year that we send out of the district to charter schools. I believe that was the information that was presented at the meeting. And as such, I believe it could be, a case could be made that we should proceed at least to investigate. As I said, I'm going to have, Dr. Hollister has agreed to forward to me the information that I requested. He said he'd get it to me in a couple of weeks. And when I get it, I will forward it to the committee. But strong leadership in that committee, in that district, and that is, I think, really worthy of our consideration. There were no motions for my technology committee conference, which is why I just read the agenda here, but it really wasn't accurate on what was happened at that meeting. So that's my report.
Thank you for correcting that. And is it possible that Dr. Hollister would come talk to us directly in the district at some point?
That's certainly in my thought processes. I didn't ask him for that. I thought I would get the introduction. I actually forwarded an introduction to everybody on the board. You got a write-up from my visit to Hershey, and there's a segment in the write-up, the email that I sent out after I came back, that on Elanco and on Doctors, it's a 2-paragraph. It's not real long, but it's in there, and you can just refer to it. There's not much more information than I gave you, and that's why I followed up with him, because I do want more his perspective of from his superintendent's seat. What were the pluses and minuses, pros and cons? Would he do it again? He absolutely is very high on what they're doing. He said it's just the classrooms with. One comment he made is that he thought that it was a mistake to have a laptop for very young kids, that they're harder to sign on and they're just more complicated than. So he said if they had that to do over again, they probably would maybe go with something simpler, a tablet or something similar for the younger kids. But he said it's changed their whole classroom orientation and feel.
Thank you. And Mrs. Cron, you'll correct that in the minutes, please. Thank you. At this point, unfinished business. If not, new business. We have, I believe, Mrs. Johnson, are you going to comment, or Dr. Bavard? Who's going to comment about the Pennsylvania Economic League study?
Thank you, Dr. Eno. One of the things that was placed in the 2014-15 budget was money to pay for our updated demographic study to look at growth by Pennsylvania Economy League. At this point, the board hasn't approved that. It will come to you for approval, but we are now recommending that you approve the contract but use October 1st number of 2015. Using numbers going back to 2014 is only going to give you a study that's worthwhile for 2 years. So they can look at all the developments, they can look at all the growth patterns, but we will use the numbers from October 1st of 2015, and then they can finish their report. So if that's okay with the board members, that's what will be on the February agenda for your approval. We'll have it done that way. But I wanted to make sure that we did it. We didn't know what committee was the best to talk about. You have a lot of things that are going on. The board had asked about looking at growth patterns coming down the road. So this is really the big issue about doing it and which numbers to use. So if there's agreement with the board for us to prepare it that way, we will do so, and you'll have it for February. Thank you.
It appears that there are lots of shaking heads. I know we've done this before. They project out more than 3 years. We know that once they get beyond 3 years, the numbers become less and less reliable, although their numbers, even at 5 or 10 years, I think are far more reliable than those that come out of the Department of Education, which is, I don't know what that says, but that is simply the fact of past experience. So I think this is well worth doing. I certainly would recommend that we move forward and find out what to expect in terms of new students or lack thereof. I would like to also add something. Just yesterday, I came across a PSBA offering. They're having a board president's conference in Mechanicsburg on the 21st of February. I would like to attend that, so I would like to ask for board members' approval. It costs $50. Hopefully that isn't going to break our budget.
Can't go.
Well, I guess I could still go if I pay my own way, right? Then I could do that. But I would like to do that, so I appreciate the confidence, the vote of confidence. Is there any other new business that board members want to bring up? If not,
Oh,
I'm
Dr.
sorry.
Bruno, can I
Yes,
just make a
Mrs. Schmidt.
correction? For the tech school meeting, I had said February 17th. It's actually the 19th, which is a Thursday.
Thank you. Yes, our board meetings, at least our normal JOC board meetings, are typically the third Thursday. They are fairly regular, although this is winter, so you never know. At this point, we'll move to announcements. And the announcements are a special school board meeting is scheduled for February 12th, 2015 at 7:30 p.m. It'll be here in this room, and it'll be for the purpose of approving the preliminary budget. The next regular school board meeting is scheduled for Monday, February the 23rd, 2015. It will also be here in this room. There is an executive session scheduled tonight following this meeting, and it will be for the purpose of both personnel and legal matters. At this point, are there further comments from guests? If not, questions from the press? I don't see the press, but okay, no comments. Yes, from the press. Thank you very much. This meeting is adjourned.